Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to be focusing on the Muslim League, where the syllabus has been reverted to what it used to be before the COVID pandemic, which means that you now need to understand the entire events that led to the formation of the Muslim League in December 1906. So in this chapter, that's what we are going to focus on, and not just on the objectives of the Muslim League. Now, the important event that happened subsequent to the First War of Independence in 1857 was that the British realized that if Hindus and Muslims were united, it could pose a major challenge to their continuance in India. So they encouraged the formation of a separate political organization for the Muslims as part of their divide and rule policy. This is an important key phrase. Please note it down, use it in your answers. Okay, so a separate political organization for the Muslims, and this was part of their divide and rule policy. Also, to reduce the hold of the Congress over the masses. This was the second reason. Okay, so reason number one, the divide and rule policy. And the second one was because the Indian National Congress, remember, was formed in December 1885. So it was seen as the umbrella organization of all communities in India, negotiating and fighting against the British, negotiating with and fighting against the British. So they realized that if we have a second party based on communities and we follow this policy of divide and rule, we can actually extend our rule in India. Understood? So let's go forward. Now, the national movement led by the Indian National Congress was called the movement to establish the Hindu kingdom, quote unquote. Okay, so that was, because they said, oh, the Congress is a party of Hindus, so they will establish Hindu rule. Okay, so we need a party which will talk about the interests of the Muslim community in India. And at that time, the India included the present-day Pakistan, included the present-day Bangladesh also. So in that sense, it was a larger geographical area. What were the factors that led to the formation of the Muslim League? Let's do that. The loss of sovereignty by Mughal rulers. I'll keep explaining it to you. Of course, all these notes are going to be there, so it will be easy. These are crisp notes which will help you in revision. Okay. Using all the keywords. Muslims did not like the fact that the British had established supremacy in India by dethroning the Mughal rulers. Remember, Bahadur Shah Zafar was the last Mughal ruler who subsequently died in Rangoon in Burma. Then Burma, today's Myanmar, right? He was exiled there, right? His sons were not allowed to use different properties which actually belonged to their ancestors, right? So Muslims did not like the fact that the British had established supremacy by dethroning the Mughal rulers who were followers of Islam. So Muslims therefore became bitter enemies of the British. The English also held them responsible. The English, on the other hand, held them responsible that Bahadur Shah Zafar, your Mughal ruler, was responsible for leading the 1857 mutiny, the 1857 revolt, the first war of independence. So that was a sense of problem between the Britishers and the Muslim community in India. Factor number one. But later on, what the British did was they realized that this kind of animosity was not going to help them. So they started a policy of appeasement towards Muslims. Muslims ko khush rakhne ki koshish rakhi gayi to create dissent. They tried to keep them happy by creating dissent between Hindus and Muslims. So what they did was they encouraged more communal tendencies. Okay. They created a communal wedge between the Hindus and the Muslims. Okay. The second factor was the British policy of divide and rule, about which I've already told you. In order to check the growth of a united national feeling in India, which was being led by the Indian National Congress, this was one of the tactical decisions which was taken after the 1857 revolt. So what happened as a result of this tactical decision was, specifically in 1871, Lord Mayo's government made Urdu the medium of instruction for Muslims in primary and secondary schools. Till then, the medium of instruction was Hindi, right? So what they did was they made Urdu the medium of instruction so that you make who happy? The Muslim community happy, that our language is being promoted, is being encouraged by the British government. So they also increased the government aid to educational institutions which were run by the Muslim community. So this gave the impression, oh, the Britishers were supporting the Muslim community. The Britishers were friends of the Muslims. So that is the first thing of divide and rule. Obviously, the Hindu community felt aggrieved. The second thing was divide and rule. Please remember, they were playing cricket and baseball together. They were doing two different things together, dealing with two different communities in very different ways. Okay. The British portrayed Muslim rulers as plunderers and created hatred for them among the Hindus. So wherever you're talking about a Hindu majority area, there they would say, this Muslim rulers were plunderers. They created hatred for the Muslim rulers in the minds of the Hindu people. But in areas where there were larger number of Muslims, they portrayed the Hindu kings as cruel rulers. You understand? So that's how they were doing this double game. They were playing this double game between Hindus and Muslims. Then, point number C, they justified the partition of Bengal, which happened in 1905 by Lord Curzon, by saying that it was to create a new Muslim majority province, that is East Bengal, which subsequently became East Pakistan in 1947 and subsequently became Bangladesh in 1971. That we created this Muslim majority province, East Bengal, for your benefit. So, see, we are your friends. So they were trying to curry favor with the Muslim community. Then they tried to promote divisions on the basis of caste. They to provoke non-Brahmins and lower caste against the so-called upper caste. Okay, so within the Hindu community also, ये तो हो गया Hindu Muslims के बीच में. Even within the Hindu community, they tried to promote these kind of divisions on the basis of caste. So they understood the social fabric of India. They understood the social fabric of India and they were able to exploit that. Okay. They spread communal hatred by using posters, by using the media, the literature, etc. Then we come to the third factor, which is relative backwardness of Muslim community in the areas of trade, education, and industry. How did that happen? The upper class Muslims, who were the rich Muslims, okay, they were conservative and they were opposed to modern education. Okay, they probably sent their children to madrasas, you know. So the number of Muslims who were educated in Western education and thereby could speak English, that number was relatively small. So the Muslim community thereby was not able to gain employment. They were not involved in any kind of organized industry within India. Okay. They also did not keep up with modern trends in the world of social and cultural spheres, right? They were more proud of their own Urdu culture, Urdu literature, Urdu ethos, and many Hindus, in contrast, were able to embrace that. So there are many Indians who went abroad and studied Hindus, but Muslims would not do that, right? So they remained in India where these people were exposed to Western thought, they were exposed to Western ethos, they were exposed to Western system of education. The Britishers, what they did, they came and told the Muslims that, see, the Hindus are getting better, whereas you are not. So you are being exploited and they will take advantage of you. So they created a wedge between the Hindus and the Muslims using this particular reason also. Then the next factor is the role of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who was a very important figure as far as the Muslim politics in pre-independence India was concerned. He was a very prominent educationist. He was a very prominent social reformer based in Aligarh in United Provinces, present-day Uttar Pradesh, and he was not communal. ऐसा नहीं था that he was hardcore communal kind of thing, talking only about Muslims. He actually considered Hindus and Muslims to be one nation, one comm. Okay. He founded the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. Okay, MAO College, Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in Aligarh, which had both Hindus and Muslim patrons. So this was the MAO College. Okay, you please remember this, and it was founded by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in Aligarh. Okay, now in the 1880s, something changed in Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. At that time, there was this particular principal, was a Britisher called Mr. Beck. He turned radical. I mean, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, under the influence of Mr. Beck, he turned radical and said political interests of Hindus and Muslims were different. Okay, he did not kind of agree with the same thought process that he had before the 1880s. So under the influence of Mr. Beck, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan became a more radical kind of a person. Mr. Beck believed that the Anglo-Muslim community unity was possible, but Hindu-Muslim unity was not possible. So Anglo-English or Muslims bhai, but Hindus and Muslims bhai nahi ho sakte. That's what this British principal of the college believed. Okay. He opposed, now Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, under the influence of Mr. Beck, he also opposed the formation of the Indian National Congress in December 85. And so he, almost in protest, he founded the United Indian Patriotic Association in 1888 to oppose the Indian National Congress. Ye yaad rakhna, please mark it. This can be an MCQ. Now, what did Sir Syed Ahmad Khan actually believe? He believed that continuance of British rule was a guarantee for the welfare and the progress of the community. Which community? Which community are we talking about? We are talking about the Muslim community. So he believed that the Muslims can actually progress only if they were friends with the Britishers. Okay, so he believed that the continuance of British rule would ensure that the Muslims were looked after. They also progressed as a result. He also believed that Hindus were in a majority in most parts of India, so they would dominate the Muslims if the Britishers left India. Okay, so he was for continuance of the British rule. He said that if educated Muslims supported the British, they could be rewarded with things like government jobs. So he was in favor of the continuance of the British rule. These 3 points are important. Please make a note of them. Okay. Then there was the erroneous. Erroneous means faulty or wrong interpretation of history. What really happened under the wrong interpretation of history was that British historians and some communal historians, what they did was they portrayed Rana Pratap and Chhatrapati Shivaji as national heroes and Akbar and Aurangzeb as foreigners, which is, not entirely correct in many sense. Okay, they were foreigners. Babur did come from outside of India. But subsequent to that, Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, Bahadur Shah Zafar, they all were born and they ruled over India while living in India, right? So, but they tried to create this divide by saying, oh, Hindu rulers are national heroes. The Muslims, Akbar, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, they are all foreigners. So Muslims were called foreign invaders who had settled in India during the Hindu period. Basically, you see, you keep creating these fissures between the two communities. Then there were some British and communal historians. They ignored the notion of composite culture, that India mein Hindus and Muslims had stayed together for centuries before the Britishers even set foot on India. They spread the myth that India was Sone ki Chidiya at one time. Wo gana hai na, Jahan dal dal par sone ki चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, जहां सत्य अहिंसा और धर्म का पग पग लगता डेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा. It's a very nice song. I'm surprised that I remember the lyrics. They spread the myth that it's not a myth. India was very prosperous at one point in time. It was called the Sone ki Chidiya or the Golden Bird. But they spread the myth that, oh, it went down during the medieval period, which was ruled by the Mughal rulers. Okay, so Hindus felt, oh, hamare time pe sone ki chidiya thi, these people came and looted it, So they were trying to create this kind of suspicion, mutual distrust between the Hindu and the Muslim communities. So distorted versions of history were taught in schools. Then the rise of assertive nationalism. Now, assertive nationalism ki positive aspects you have studied earlier in the earlier chapter. Now you see it also had its problem areas. For instance, some of the leaders, for instance, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lokmanya Tilak, he started celebrating the Ganapati and the Shivaji festival in Maharashtra. That irked the Muslims, that, you are celebrating Hindu festival. You're promoting Hindu religion. You're promoting Hindu culture, right? Aurobindo Ghosh, he had this concept of India as a mother India. Now, that was against the Muslim way of thinking. Then there was the anti-partition agitation that took place in Bengal after the partition of Bengal in 1905. That began with dips in the river Ganga. Again, a very Hindu culture-oriented kind of approach. At least that's how the Muslims looked at it. So this was yet another factor that led to the formation of the Muslim League. These are all kind of things which were building up and leading to a lot of suspicion in the minds of people. Then there was economic backward linked to the fact that they were not education was less in the Western system of education. So there were demands for reservation ki humko reservation do. The British used this to again push their policy of divide and rule. So then these were the factors. These were the reasons. Uske baad, events are one thing. Factors are one. Events are alag. Events matlab ka hota hai घटनाएं. Okay, क्या घटना हुई? Which were the events that led to the formation of the Muslim League? Factors we have read. Factors means reasons. What were the reasons that led to the formation of the Muslim League? The first one was the Hindu-Urdu controversy. Now, in United Provinces, that is in present-day Uttar Pradesh, Urdu was the court language. That is, it was the language which was used in the courts. Okay. In 1900, before that, there were a lot of protests. So government instructed that all petitions will now be submitted in Hindi, and inside the court, the official announcements will be issued both in Urdu as well as in Hindi. And Muslims resented this because tab tak lagta tha ki Urdu was the primary language. Now they had to share space with Hindi. Okay. Then the foundation of the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental Association. College is alag, association is alag. The Britishers encouraged this. This was in 1893. The aim was to promote loyalty. Please remember all these reasons again from the point of view of the 2-mark question in particular. Okay, the aim of this particular association, what was the aim of the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental Association? It was to promote loyalty to the British and prevent Muslims from participating in any political movement. So that if a large number of Indians, the Muslim community, do not participate in anything against the Britishers will obviously gain as a result. It will become only a Hindu thing. So you will be able to further promote your policy of divide and rule. Okay, as I said, is sabko ratta marne ki zarurat nahi hai. Remember this, read it 2-3 more times, all this will get registered here. Just think of it as a story of what happened at that time. What did the Britishers do? What did the Muslim leaders do? What did the Congress leaders do? That's how you need to remember it. The various things, and you read it 3-4 times, you'll conveniently remember it. There is nothing to worry at all. Okay. Then there was this whole policy. The Aligarh in Uttar Pradesh was pretty much the the fulcrum of much of these Muslim oriented politics which was happening in that part of India. So Sir Syed Ahmad Khan died in 1898, and Nawab Mohsin ul Mulk, he took charge subsequently of the Aligarh movement, and he criticized the government for granting equal status to Hindi and Urdu in the courts. Okay. Then there was, of course, the partition of Bengal in 1905. It created a wedge because Nawab Salimullah, who was one of the primary movers for the formation of the Muslim League, he supported the formation of East Bengal because he was based in Dhaka. Sarji was based in Dhaka, so obviously he would support it. So that also created a wedge that it kind of gave the feeling that Muslims were in favor of the partition of Bengal, which was opposed by many people in Bengal itself. Then the last event was there was a Muslim deputation or delegation, which was sent to Viceroy Lord Minto. If any of you is in Delhi, there is a Minto Bridge. Now, there was an Arundale committee which was set up to explore the possibility of the expansion of the Legislative Council, that you include more members. So Archibald, who had now then after Mr. Beck had become the new principal of MAO College, he suggested that we will go and address the Viceroy, and it should begin with the proclamation of loyalty to the British rulers. So the Muslim community leaders were willing to be doing Ji Hazur to the British, because they felt it was in the best interest of the Muslim community, because they felt threatened by the Hindu community dominated Congress party. Understood? They were feeling insecure and a little unsure about how things will pan out if India gained independence with Congress as the primary political party. They felt it would not adequately represent the interests of the Muslim community. I hope you are understanding that. Then he also suggested that we should ask for a system of nomination or representation on the basis of religion, that we should have seats on the basis of, okay, the representative from this area should be a Muslim. So you have it on the basis of religion. Then the election system, they felt that the election system was not very good because the Muslims were in a minority at most places. So if people voted on the basis of religion, people will vote for the Hindu candidates. So no Muslim candidate will ever get elected. This will be against the interests of the Muslim community. So these were the three suggestions that he made to the Viceroy. 35 influential, prominent Muslims, they went and met Viceroy Lord Minto. They were led by Aga Khan. This happened in Shimla on the 1st of October 1906. And they demanded representation in elected bodies for Muslims on the basis of political importance, not just numerical strength. Because on the basis of numerical strength, they would not have enough numbers. So they said on the basis of political importance that they should be either given some kind of reservation on the basis that Muslims are also an important community. So we should be given a representation in the elected bodies, but not on the basis of numerical strength, because then you would get outnumbered by the Hindus, right? Then they said there could be separate electoral constituencies, that this seat is reserved only for a Muslim candidate, right? In provincial council as well as the imperial legislative council. Okay, so they asked for that kind of a reservation. Then reservation of seats in the state services and more state help for promoting Muslim universities in the field of education. Now let's come to the formation of the Muslim League. Now, this initiative was taken by Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka, the person who was in favor of the partition of Bengal. So, the proposal to form the Muslim League was first considered in Dhaka in December 1906 when Muslim leaders met for the Mohammedan Educational Conference. So, that was the reason why they met, but they also discussed the proposal to form the Muslim League. And a political association, All India Muslim League, was set up on the 30th of December 1906 under the presidency of Nawab Salimullah. And therefore, if you are asked a question, who was the first president of the Muslim League, Nawab Salimullah is the answer to give, because that entire session was held under the presidency of Nawab Salimullah. However, subsequently, Aga Khan III was elected as the permanent president of the Muslim League, even though he was not physically present at that first session in Dhaka of the Muslim League. So please remember that. The League's convention was held at the royal official residence of the Dhaka royal family, Nawab Salimullah. He played a prominent role, and the headquarters were allotted to Aligarh, but 1910 May, it shifted to Lucknow, also in United Provinces. Now, what were the objectives of the Muslim League? This is quite a favorite question. Kafi bari board exam mein pucha gaya hai. 1, to promote loyalty. Keywords. Keywords yaad rakhna. This is a keyword. To promote loyalty is a keyword among the Muslims of India. Okay. Then subsequently, to protect and advance the political rights. This is again a keyword, to advance the political rights and interests of Muslims to the government. That is, I talk about these are the interests and the political rights of Muslims, and I represent that to the British government. So you see, there is a close association that they talk about between the Muslim community and the British government, to prevent the rise of feelings of hostility between Muslims and other communities, mainly Hindus. Okay, so these were the three objectives of the Muslim League. Please remember this. This is important. Now, what was one of the common mistakes that many of your seniors made was they get confused between the formation of the Muslim League and the proposal for the formation of Pakistan, which happened in 1940. This happened in 1906. That happened in 1940. Please do not get confused and make a mistake. Now let's come to Muslim League ka ho gaya. Now let's come to Lucknow Pact. Lucknow Pact essentially was you have to study this in brief according to the syllabus. It was a result of an effort to make the Congress and the Muslim League reach an agreement, because the Congress and the Muslim League realized that hum dono jhagarte rahenge to the Britishers are going to take advantage. They are taking advantage. Okay, so they reached an agreement which is called the Lucknow Pact on the scheme of political reforms in India. The agreement, which was signed by both parties in 1916, was called the Lucknow Pact. The clauses were technical and administrative in nature, talking about the powers of Legislative Council, the Viceroy's Executive Council, etc. What was the significance of the Lucknow Pact is what you need to understand. The significance of the Lucknow Pact was, one, it resulted in Hindu-Muslim unity. Abhi tak, so far you have heard about how Hindu and Muslims ke beech mein a wedge was being created. That came to some kind of an rapprochement, some kind of an agreement with the Lucknow Pact, which was signed in 1916 between the Congress and the Muslim League. So the pact symbolized unity between the two communities who agreed to compromise for the common good, because the Congress compromised on its secular character by accepting a separate electorate for Muslims, that there will be separate constituencies which will have Muslim representation. Okay, so otherwise Congress compromised on its secular character ka matlab kya hai? Because the Congress always believed that we are not only talking about Hindus or only talking about Muslims or Sikhs or Christians. We are a secular party. We treat every community, every religion equally. But now they kind of compromised on the secular character by accepting these kind of reservation. The League also accepted the principles of majority rule and elections, because till now, as I said, they were not in favor of elections because they thought they will get outnumbered. So based on this Lucknow Pact, the Congress and the League worked together from 1916 to 1922. उसके बाद फिर से उनके बीच में क्या बोलते हैं उसको, कट्टी हो गई. Unity within the Congress. It led to unity between the early nationalists and the assertive nationalists. Okay, after 1907, you remember the Surat split, which is not in your syllabus. The two groups had been working separately, and this strengthened the Indian National Congress. Then it also started putting pressure on the British government, because if their divide and rule policy is not working, फिर अंग्रेज करेंगे क्या? Right? What will they do? They were trying to create differences and fissures between the Hindus and the Muslims. They realized that there was a need to pacify and, ensure that the Indians were happy. So the British were told that India's demand for constitutional reform should not be rejected if they wanted Indians to be loyal to them during the First World War. 1916 mein hua. 1916 mein hi First World War also was being fought. And if they wanted Indians soldiers to also fight for the British, they better agree to Indian National Congress's demand for constitutional reforms. So in August 1917, by declaration, England promised a policy of gradual development of self-government institutions in India. Okay, and then there was this Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. They were announced in July 1918 in order to address this particular issue. So with that, we come to the end of the Muslim League plus the Lucknow Pact, which is part of the first part of your Indian history from 1857. It ends with the Lucknow Pact. I hope this video has made it clear. You have understood it. Go through the notes. Any doubts, anytime, 24/7, you can ask it out here. Okay. Tata, bye-bye. We will do the questions. There will be the question answers, MCQs and test papers put, and we will do it more. We'll do more of them as we go towards the examination season. Okay. Tata, bye-bye.